So here we are inside of a church. I've got a hat on. Whoops. Oh, but wait. Is that a problem? So you walk into a church with the hat on, and inevitably the first thing that happens is somebody asks you to remove it. But why is that? I mean, first let's look at what the church actually is. The church is not the building. The church is the body of believers. So when you're going into the building, all that's really different is you're going into a building where people who believe congregate. So how does that qualify the building as to be valuable enough or sanctified enough for me to have to remove my hat? So if the church is the people, not the building, then when exactly am I supposed to remove my hat? I mean, am I in church all the time? When I'm with my friends? When I'm with my pastor? What exactly qualifies it as being in church as opposed to just being? If we're just not going to wear hats in church, why don't we just not wear hats, period? I mean, God is omnipresent, right? So if he's everywhere, you're supposed to remove your hat in his presence out of respect or something for who he is. Why do we ever wear hats? I mean, I don't really get the logic behind this. Now, ironically, in the Bible, people didn't remove their hats when they went in to see God. In fact, they actually put on hats sometimes. What they did was take off their shoes. So my question to you is, why do we go into church wearing shoes and not hats? So am I trying to tell you that you should wear a hat in church? Well, not exactly. I mean, if taking off your hat somehow makes you feel like you're worshiping God better, by all means, go ahead. Just don't try to tell me that I have to take off my hat because it makes you feel like I'm worshiping God better. See what I mean? Basically, it all comes down to denominations. Sort of. A denomination is a group of people who believe in the same theory of how you should worship God. Basically. During the time of the Roman Catholic Church, however, they would tell people that they all had to be the exact same way, and if they did not, they got their heads cut off, burned at the stake, all sorts of gruesome tortures happened to them. It was not good. Not a pretty picture at all. Now some of you might say, well, that happened like 500 years ago. That's not going to happen today, especially not over a thing like somebody wearing a hat. Trust me, at some point, there'll be a large church, and there'll be a large government, and they'll combine, and they're going to try to tell you how to worship. So in the meantime, while we're trying to enjoy our little freedom that we have in between death and more death, let's just try to not judge each other based on what type of hat we're wearing in church. Just worship God, and don't try to tell other people to worship him the exact same way that you do. Because, let's face it, you don't worship him right. And neither do I. Neither does anybody. Nobody's got it down perfect. Nobody's got the exact right way to worship God. So let's just all admit that we don't know the answer and stop trying to force it on other people. So long as someone believes that they're saved by grace alone, through faith alone, in Christ alone, who cares if they wear a hat in church? I mean, how do you know if God doesn't think that it's more holy to wear a hat in church? Granted, you might think that it shows respect. If you do, go ahead, take your hat off. But don't try to get us to take our hats off in church just because you feel like it shows respect. Deal with the problems in your own eye before you try to examine the speck in everybody else's eye. Peace out.